Well, that's enough of that. Let's go and do some proper diving on the wreck of the Lancer 2. Well, I'm sure regular divers of the Lancer 2 will have sussed out what's wrong with this video. And it's not that it's not BBC Blue Planet cameraman quality. If you know, comment below. Kendall MacDonald in Dive Sussex writes of the Lancer 2 that she was in a collision that took place by the Brighton light vessel on 18th of July 1918 when His Majesty's yacht Vagrant rammed the Admiralty trawler, which was heading for Newhaven. The Vagrant took her in tow, but the trawler did not make it. When dived in 1970, she was found to be upside down, 21 metres of water. Well, it's obviously not upside down, so I'm not sure what ship that was they were diving in 1970. Couldn't find a lot of information on the Lancer, but Glenn at Newhaven Scuba kindly lent me a booklet that one of his divers there put together for a project back in 2000, and he couldn't find a lot of information about it either. There wasn't anything in the newspapers reported, which was probably because it's wartime and the Admiralty didn't want anything reported about their ship sinking. But what he did find, which was quite good, was a report from the Vagrant's log. It states, on Wednesday the 17th July 1918 the Vagrant was at anchor at Portsmouth Harbour. Late that evening she slipped out of the harbour to commence a patrol. She headed eastwards into a smooth sea. By 2 AM the following morning she was approaching the Brighton light vessel. The Brighton light vessel was under the jurisdiction of Trinity House. It was a war station established at the request of the Admiralty during World War I. The light vessel was only in position for part of 1917 and 1918. She was stationed 7.6 miles from Marine Palace Pier Light on a bearing of 180 degrees. At this position, Vagrant saw the Lancer 2 lying ahead. The Vagrant switched on her lights and turned to port, but did not manage to avoid colliding with her. The port side of the Vagrant struck Lancer 2 and hauled her beneath the waterline. By 2:30 AM, most of the crew had been taken on board the Vagrant and the Lancer 2 was reported as sinking fast. The Vagrant tried to tow her towards Newhaven. At 4:30 AM, the tug Alert, itself from Newhaven, and His Majesty's trawler Inchgarth took over the tow, but by 5 AM the Lancer 2 was lost.
Lancer 2.
Okay, so we're back with Roger, and he's going to tell us now about the Lancer 2. So,
Lancer 2.
So how did you find this one then?
Well, all our diving was on the Brisbane. Anything you could find with landmarks before the days of Decca and GPS. So, but we were talking to a local fisherman, and he said, if you go southwest, I think it was half a mile, there's another wreck there. They weren't sure what it was or anything. And we just bought a new echo sounder, and so we drove for half a mile, dumped the buoy in, and on the first circuit we actually found it, which was unbelievable. So I chucked the buoy in there, and straight down in the middle of it, and there was a masthead lantern laying in the back against the front bulkhead. Oh, it's rather nice. We'll pop that up for a bit of an airing, and that was the first thing that came up of it. After that, we found all sorts of things. We knew the gun was up on the top.
Yeah.
Oh, and loads of bits and pieces. There were all deck lights and all sorts of things in there.
So you were probably like the first people to dive it, weren't you?
I think we must have been. Yeah. There was another dive boat that used to go down out of there that Bob Taylor knew. A little 23 footer, and they said they thought they'd dived it, but I don't know.
Well, they wouldn't have left all that stuff there, would they, if they had?
Well, that's it. But so that was it. We dived anything we had on landmarks we could go out on. If there was any fog or bad visibility, you didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
But,
so when you dropped down on that Lancer, then what was your first impressions when you saw that wreck with all that stuff on there? Then
it was a brilliant viz day, which is
really
unusual for a start. And just the front end of it was intact.
Did you land straight onto the bows then?
Yeah, just back from about halfway along.
Yeah.
And because it still had the back hatches, didn't it, over the engines?
Oh, right, okay.
They were still on there with all the 3 deck lights up down either side. They were still intact.
Okay.
And,
so was the stern still reasonably intact then? Because that was quite...
That's battered now. Yeah, it never was in very good nick.
No.
Over the seasons, it's just gradually got flattened.
Oh, okay. I wonder whether they'd been sort of recovered, whether they blasted it for the prop or something like that. But
Might have done. The good old New Haven Scrap Metal Company got into everything.
Yeah, really.
Well, along next to the Brisbane, we'd actually dived while they were round the other side, pulling bits off it.
Oh, right.
In fact, John Resch actually managed to open up all the drive shaft on the Brisbane, and all the bearing mounts were exposed, and a couple of those disappeared.
So whose idea was it to bring up the gun then?
Well, the guy in the calf, what was his name? The original guy.
Oh, I don't want the coral calf.
Yeah, when it was the coral cabin, he had a fishing boat as well, and he said, why don't we go out and pull it up? So we went out and had a day pulling it up. Yeah. Nearly pulled the hatch off his boat and one or two other interesting bits, but we managed to get it up on the deck.
Was that something you just sort of decided I was going to go out and get it? You didn't have to sort of jump through hoops like you'd have to nowadays? And
oh yes, no, this was before the days of droid numbers and all that.
Yeah, just sort of get out, let's have it. And
that was it. Yeah, just beat the New Haven Scrap Metal Company. Yes, so up it came. And,
so how did that all work out then? Any dramas, or was it pretty straightforward?
Well, it was bloody heavy, obviously, and to get it up over his deck, and so he nearly pulled the cleat out of his deck. So I got it on there in the end, and it ended up at the museum in the end, the New Haven Museum up in the fort.
Oh right, so it's up there because it used to be down on the seafront, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it went up to the fort.
And it stayed there for a while, and then I think it was two Arabs took it over, and they were milking the finances out of it or something. So we popped up there one day and nicked it back again. Got it in my trailer and came back to Tunbridge Wells then. Then sat in the garden for another, I don't know, 10, 15 years.
Greeting the postman every morning.
Yeah, that was it. Yes, the old inspector, when he came round to look at my gun cupboard for my shotgun licence, didn't give it a second look, which amazed me. Yeah. But,
Excellent. So what ultimately happened to it then? Where is it now?
well, yeah, when I moved up here, it had to go back to. It went back up to Fort Housestead, and then my brother-in-law left Fort Housestead, and we don't know what happened to it after that. So.
But why did it go up there? Was there one up the spout still or something?
Not sure. Whether I've got some. Yeah. But no, so where it went after that, I've
Yeah.
got no idea. It
Well,
was
at
a
least
shame.
At least it's
It was,
somewhere official. I don't gone to the scrapyard.
no, I've, as you say, it's got in their museum up there,
Yeah,
and they've got all
yeah.
sorts of stuff stored up there. But Andrew never found out, unfortunately.
And,
But,
these were the type of things that would have been
that's it. That's a
6
3-inch Hotchkiss it was.
Yeah.
6-inch Hotchkiss.
6
£6 Hotchkiss, yeah. And that was some of the shells off it.
So it wasn't obviously it wasn't a name wreck when you was diving it. So how did it?
No,
How
well,
did you get the name?
Yeah, had the story of what happened there, and it was in the right place for it, and it was, so we always called it the Lancer. But then I finally got the. I found the bell, and that didn't have any writing on it, unfortunately. But
So what was the story of that bell that you said about when we come up?
well, yeah, I was a guy called Richard who's well, he doesn't open his eyes when he dives. But the shot line went right past it, and I could see in front of him. I could see the curve of it sticking out of the sand, and he just put his hand on it. So that was that. He got there before me.
Choker.
And then you turned his hair off.
Yeah. That's how that came.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really remember it. What else came off that? All sorts of bits and pieces. Oh, a lovely ball pit signal lamp. I got.
All right.
The same as I used on the railway around that time. But yeah, that was quite a nice piece.
Wasn't there a deck filler with Smith Docks and that written on it as
Oh
well?
yeah. I wonder where that
That
went.
looked really nice.
Yes. That must be.
I
I
don't
don't know the
that.
whereabouts.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. So there's no name on the bell then, but then you found.
No, nothing.
What do you find?
Maker's plate.
Yeah, and then you found the maker's plate,
Just
didn't you?
finding that maker's plate, and that confirmed it.
Hmm.
And
Where was that laying on the wreck then?
That was back towards the. Because originally it had the wooden bridge,
Right.
and that was intact. Some of
Was
the
it?
some
Cool.
of the timbers were still up.
Yeah, really?
So it must have fell off the wood there, and it was more or less just in front of where the bridge would have been. And there was a bit where obviously the sand had blown through, where it had broken out, and it was stuck in there. So I assume it just fell off from. I don't know. They weren't very good at steering it, were they? Because it was
A collision.
sunk the old memory is fading a bit.
Oh, that's why it's good to get it on, get it down, isn't it?
Yeah.